Welcome back to the Deep Dive, everybody. Today we're diving into the world of prompt engineering, and I gotta say, it's a topic that's gotten so much more relevant so quickly. We all use prompts these days, right? Asking AI to help draft an email, whip up some text. But what we really want to uncover in this deep dive is, well, it's the sheer scope, how deeply prompts are intertwined with so many different fields. It's wild. We've got some fascinating examples lined up for you, and honestly, it's kind of mind-blowing. The whole goal here is to shine a light on just how powerful this seemingly simple concept really is. It's reshaping so many fields. It's incredible.
You hit the nail on the head. I think most folks, when they hear prompts, they think of writing, like creating content, blog posts, maybe ads. Which, don't get me wrong, that is a huge part of it. But the power of a really well-crafted prompt goes so much deeper. What's fascinating is how that core idea, asking the right question, giving the perfect instruction is becoming essential in all these unexpected places, driving innovation in ways we never really saw coming.
Absolutely. I mean, just to give you a sense of the scale we're talking about, we're going to look at how prompts are used in programming and research and automating tasks. I mean, think about it. Generating art with AI, that's prompts. Business applications, writing content of all kinds, of course. But then it gets even wilder. Cybersecurity, the Internet of Things, blockchain. We're talking marketing, education, even the legal field. And then you get into like conversational AI, building software, mobile apps, games, even things like cloud computing, quantum computing, HR tech, healthcare, bioinformatics. I mean, the list goes on. It's a lot to cover, so let's jump right in, shall we? Let's start with something a lot of us use every day. Software. How are prompts changing the game in the world of programming?
Well, one of the most exciting things is how prompts are making so many parts of programming faster and easier. Take code generation. Say you need a specific chunk of code, something like a Python function. You want it to, let's say, sort a list using bubble sort. And you want it to be, well commented, easy to understand. With the right prompt, you can actually have AI generate that code for you. Boom, done. And if you've got code in one language, like JavaScript, but you need it in, say, Python, prompts can do that translation too. Super helpful for adapting existing code for new projects.
Wow, that sounds like a huge time saver for developers. No more writing the same basic code over and over. I'm guessing that also helps with those inevitable coding errors.
You got it. Prompts are becoming incredibly useful for debugging. So let's say you're running into a type error in your Python code. You can feed that error message along with the problem code into a prompt. Then ask for possible causes, maybe some solutions. It's like having an AI debugging buddy right there with you. And it goes even further. Prompts can even help you use APIs. Let's take an example. You want a Python script that uses, say, the OpenAI API to generate a poem. You can use a prompt to figure out exactly how to make that happen.
Okay, so we're talking about writing code from scratch, translating between languages, getting help with those pesky bugs, even using these complex APIs. It's clear that prompts are becoming a central tool for programmers.
Yeah.
Now, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about research. How are prompts changing the way we generate and understand knowledge?
This is where things get really interesting. In the world of research, prompts are turning out to be amazing for sifting through the massive amounts of information out there, helping researchers find what they need faster, make discoveries more quickly. Think about doing a literature review. You can use a prompt to get the key takeaways from, let's say dozens of research papers on a specific topic. Something like the effects of social media on teenagers' mental health. You can even be super specific and tell it to focus on studies from a certain time period. That's hours and hours of reading and summarizing that a researcher can now skip. But it goes beyond just basic summarization. You can use prompts to spot trends, see if different studies agree or disagree, even find gaps in what we currently know.
So it's not just saving time, it's helping researchers see the big picture, right? I mean, research isn't just reading, it's analyzing data. Do prompts play a role there too?
Oh, absolutely. Prompts can actually help with data analysis. You can tell the AI to find correlations, patterns, all those hidden insights in a data set. For example, you could ask it to look at data on, let's say, income levels and education. Then tell it to figure out if there's a statistically significant connection between the two. And you can even tell it how to present the findings, like in a clear table or chart. It can even help with generating hypotheses. Imagine a researcher studying climate change. They could use a prompt to come up with testable hypotheses about how climate change might affect coastal ecosystems. And then when it comes to actually finding information, instead of just doing basic keyword searches, you can use prompts to be super specific, super targeted. Like, let's say you want to find the very latest research on quantum computing. Prompts can help you zero in on exactly what you need.
So it's not just generating text. Prompts they're changing the whole research process. From understanding what we already know to asking new questions, finding new answers. It's pretty amazing. Okay, let's talk about something else that's really important, and that's getting things done. I'm talking about automation. How are prompts changing the way we automate tasks and streamline workflows?
Well, automation is another area where prompts are making a huge difference, especially in the workplace. We're talking about all those repetitive tasks that we can now hand off to AI. Think about writing emails, for instance. Instead of manually writing the same email over and over, you can use a prompt to generate a professional email for you. Let's say you want to confirm a meeting. You tell the prompt the date, time, location, maybe even the agenda, and boom, you've got a perfectly formatted email ready to send. And it's not just emails. You can also use prompts to generate reports. Let's say you need a sales report for the last quarter. You tell the prompt what key performance indicators to include, things like total revenue, profit margin, customer acquisition cost, and it'll create that report for you. No more manually pulling data and crunching numbers.
I can see how that would save so much time for individuals and teams. What about those automated customer service interactions we see more and more these days?
Right, chatbots. Prompts are actually the brains behind these automated conversations. You can use a prompt to design a chatbot that answers common customer questions. Like maybe you want a chatbot that handles questions about your return policy. The prompt will help define how the chatbot interacts, how it answers questions, how it guides the conversation, and it goes beyond customer service. You can even use prompts to generate scripts for more general automation. Like let's say you want to back up all the files in a certain folder on your computer every night. You can use a prompt to generate a script that does that automatically.
So it's like prompts are making automation more, I don't know, more user-friendly, more accessible for people who aren't, coding experts. It's pretty cool. All right, let's move on to something totally different, something super creative. Art. How are prompts being used to create visual content to actually generate art with AI?
This is where the creative power of prompts really shines. You can literally use prompts to create stunning visuals. All you need is a clear instruction, and the AI takes care of the rest. Imagine you need a logo for a new bakery, an organic one, let's say. You can use a prompt to guide the creation of that logo. You can tell it the style you want, the colors you want, even specific elements you want to include. And it's not just logos. You can use prompts to generate incredible digital art. Like imagine a futuristic cityscape with flying cars and all these neon lights reflecting off skyscrapers. All that from a simple text prompt.
That's amazing. It's like having an on-demand digital artist, right? What other kinds of visuals can you create with prompts?
Oh, the possibilities are pretty much endless. You can create custom illustrations. Like let's say you want a fantasy scene with a dragon guarding its treasure in a cave. You can use a prompt for that. You can also use prompts to help develop a brand identity for a company. Maybe you're working on a new sustainable coffee shop. You can use prompts to create a whole visual style guide, capturing that eco-friendly vibe. And for more technical stuff, you can even use prompts to design 3D models. Like, imagine designing a tiny house with solar panels and a green roof, all with a text prompt.
Wow, so we're talking about everything from professional logos to intricate illustrations to detailed 3D models. It's pretty mind-blowing how prompts are connecting imagination with visual reality. Okay, let's bring this back to the business world. We talked about branding, but what about other business applications for prompts?
So outside of branding, prompts are becoming super useful for all sorts of business tasks. They can help with things like strategic planning, day-to-day operations, even risk management. For example, imagine a startup trying to figure out their finances for the first year. You can use prompts to generate detailed financial projections, things like revenue forecasts, expense estimates, cash flow analysis. It can also be super helpful for companies going through a rebranding. You can use a prompt to generate a complete task list, everything from redesigning the logo and updating the website to revising marketing materials and making announcements.
So it's not just about the big strategic stuff. It's about those smaller practical steps, too.
Exactly. And it can even help companies with their sustainability efforts. You can use a prompt to create a proposal outlining specific sustainability goals. It can detail the steps to achieve those goals and how to measure progress. And when it comes to launching new products, prompts can be a huge help there too. You can use prompts to plan events, create presentations, even come up with marketing strategies. And for risk management, prompts can help you create detailed plans for different types of projects. Like, let's say you're working on a construction project. You can use prompts to identify potential risks, develop mitigation strategies, and even come up with contingency plans.
It sounds like prompts are becoming like a Swiss Army knife for businesses. They can help with so many different things, big and small. Okay, let's talk about something everyone's talking about these days. Content creation. We know prompts are used for writing, but how deep does that rabbit hole go?
Yeah, content creation is definitely a sweet spot for prompts. We're talking about a whole new level of efficiency and speed. You can use prompts to create all sorts of content, written content, multimedia content, you name it. Let's say you need a blog post about the benefits of cloud storage for small businesses. You can use a prompt for that. You can specify the length, the key points, the tone you want. You want it to be friendly and informative. No problem, the prompt takes care of it. And social media, forget about it. Imagine needing tweets to promote a new vegan restaurant. You can use a prompt to generate different tweets, each one highlighting a different aspect, like the menu, the atmosphere, maybe a special offer. You can even tell it to include relevant hashtags.
It sounds like it takes a lot of the guesswork out of social media, right?
Yeah.
But it's not just for, practical stuff. Can you use prompts for more creative writing too?
Of course. Let's say you want to write a short story about a time traveler who goes to ancient Egypt. You want it to be mysterious, adventurous, and you want to end it with a cliffhanger. You can totally use a prompt for that. And for businesses selling products online, prompts are becoming super valuable for writing product descriptions. You can tell it what features to highlight, who the target audience is, all those little details that make a product description really sing. Like, let's say you're selling noise-canceling headphones. You want to emphasize the long battery life, the comfy fit, the awesome sound quality. All that can be baked right into the prompt.
Wow. So we're talking about blog posts, social media updates, short stories, product descriptions. It's like with the right prompt, you can write anything. All right, let's move on to something a little more serious. Let's talk about cybersecurity. How are prompts changing the game in the world of online security?
So this is where things get really interesting and really important. Cybersecurity is, well, it's all about being proactive, about staying one step ahead of the bad guys. And prompts are starting to play a big role in that. For example, you can use prompts to create automated scripts for auditing your systems. Like, let's say you want to keep an eye on user account activity on a Windows server. You can use a prompt to create a script that checks for things like successful and failed logins, any changes to accounts. That helps you monitor your security in real time. And prompts can also help you set up secure network infrastructure. You can use a prompt to generate step-by-step instructions for setting up a VPN server, so you can access your network securely from anywhere. This is especially helpful for smaller companies that might not have, a whole dedicated security team.
So it's like prompts are making those complex security configurations more accessible, right? But it's not just about setting things up. What about ongoing monitoring?
You got it. Prompts can also help you strengthen your network defenses. Like, let's say you're using a Linux-based firewall. You can use prompts to generate configurations that only allow essential traffic through. And you can even use prompts to check for weak passwords in your systems. You can feed it a list of known weak passwords and have it compare that to your user accounts. That way, you can proactively find and fix those vulnerabilities before someone tries to exploit them.
So we're talking about automating security audits, setting up secure connections, strengthening firewalls, even checking for weak passwords. It's pretty incredible how prompts are taking on these security tasks. All right, let's shift gears again. Let's talk about the Internet of Things, or IoT. How are prompts playing a role in this increasingly connected world?
So, the Internet of Things, it's all about devices talking to each other, sharing data, working together. And that requires code. And prompts are making it a lot easier to write that code to get those devices talking. For example, imagine you want to build a smart home system. You can use prompts to generate the code and instructions to connect all those different devices. Things like lights, thermostats, security systems. You can even use prompts to set up sensors and actuators that interact with the physical environment. It's all about creating that seamless, automated experience.
That sounds pretty futuristic,
Yeah.
like having your house basically run itself. But it's not just about smart homes, right? What about other IoT applications?
Oh, there are so many. Like, imagine a smart irrigation system for a garden or a farm. You can use prompts to help you build that. You can use prompts to write the code that connects soil moisture sensors to an irrigation system so it only waters when it needs to. And then there are smart city applications. You can use prompts to build smart parking systems that use sensors to detect available parking spaces and then share that information with drivers. And on a larger scale, you can use prompts to create whole smart city platforms that manage things like streetlights, waste management, traffic flow. It's all about using data and interconnected devices to make cities more efficient, more sustainable, more livable.
It seems like prompts are really key to making those IoT solutions more accessible, more efficient. Okay, let's talk about another cutting-edge technology, blockchain.
Hmm.
How are prompts finding their way into this decentralized world?
Blockchain is all about, well, it's about trust, transparency, security. And prompts are starting to play a role in building these decentralized systems. For example, you can use prompts to help you build a supply chain management system on a blockchain, something that tracks goods from the factory to the store shelf. The prompt can help you set up the network, write the smart contracts that define the rules, everything you need to get that system running. And you can use prompts to design cryptocurrency wallets, those digital wallets people use to store and manage their crypto. Prompts can help you generate the code that secures those wallets, manages transactions, tracks balances.
I'm seeing a pattern here. It seems like prompts are really good at helping people build these complex systems, making it, I don't know, less intimidating, maybe. What other blockchain applications are out there?
Oh, tons. You can use prompts to build voting systems on a blockchain, systems that are secure, transparent, tamper-proof, and you can even use prompts to build decentralized marketplaces. These are platforms where people can buy and sell goods and services directly without a central authority. Prompts can help you set up the rules of the marketplace, create the interface, manage transactions. It's all about cutting out the middleman, empowering individuals.
Okay, so we're talking about supply chains, wallets, voting systems, marketplaces. It's clear that prompts are becoming a pretty valuable tool in the blockchain world. All right, let's shift gears to something a little more, I don't know, persuasive. Let's talk about marketing. How are prompts changing the game in the world of advertising and customer engagement?
Marketing is all about communication, right? It's about connecting with your audience, telling your story, selling your product. And prompts are making it easier to do all of that more effectively. For example, you can use prompts to automate customer interactions. Like, let's say a customer emails you with a question about their order. You can use a prompt to generate a friendly, helpful response. No more writing the same email over and over again. And you can use prompts to write all sorts of marketing copy. Things like descriptions for apps, website copy, social media posts. You can tell the prompt what you want to emphasize, who your target audience is, and it'll generate copy that's tailored to your needs.
So it's like having a copywriter on demand. Right. But it's not just about writing, is it? What about like coming up with creative marketing ideas?
Prompts can help with that too. Let's say you're trying to market a new solar panel system. You can use a prompt to brainstorm a list of benefits and selling points, things like energy savings, environmental impact, maybe even financial incentives. And when it comes to planning whole marketing campaigns, prompts can be super useful. You can use them to outline your strategy, figure out which channels to use, even identify potential influencers to partner with. Like, imagine you're launching a new line of organic skincare products. A prompt can help you create a roadmap for that entire campaign.
It sounds like prompts are becoming like an essential part of the marketer's toolkit.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about something that's near and dear to my heart. Education. How are prompts changing the way we learn and teach?
Education is all about, well, it's about sharing knowledge, sparking curiosity, encouraging critical thinking, and prompts are starting to play a role in all of that. For example, you can use prompts to explain complex concepts in a way that's easy to understand. Like, let's say you're trying to teach students about the scientific method. You can use a prompt to generate a clear, concise explanation, maybe even tailored to a specific grade level. And you can use prompts to help students explore different subjects and historical periods. Like, imagine you're teaching a class about the Renaissance. You can use a prompt to generate a description of the era, highlighting key artists and their contributions.
So like prompts are creating educational content, right? Content that's engaging, informative, maybe even a little bit fun. But it's not just about providing information, is it? What about like encouraging discussion and debate?
Definitely. You can use prompts to generate thought-provoking questions that get students talking, really thinking about the topic. Like, let's say you're teaching a class about plate tectonics. You could use a prompt to generate questions that get students discussing how plate tectonics explains things like earthquakes and mountain ranges. And you can even use prompts to describe complex information in a way that's clear and detailed. Like, let's say you're teaching a class about the human nervous system. You can use a prompt to generate a description of the different parts of the nervous system and their functions.
It sounds like prompts are becoming like a valuable tool for teachers, helping them create more engaging lessons, spark those aha moments in their students. Okay, let's talk about a field that's all about precision and careful interpretation. The legal field. How are prompts finding their way into the world of law?
So the legal field, it's all about words, right? About interpreting them, applying them, arguing with them. And prompts are starting to help legal professionals do their jobs more efficiently, more effectively. For example, you can use prompts to summarize legal research. Imagine you're trying to understand the latest case law and data privacy in the EU. You can use a prompt to get a summary of all the key judgments and rulings related to GDPR. You can even use prompts to draft legal documents. Like, let's say you need a non-disclosure agreement for a small business partnership. You can use a prompt to generate a template that covers all the essential clauses, all the legalese. And when it comes to litigation, you can even use prompts to help you develop strategies. Like, imagine you're defending a client against a breach of contract claim. You can use a prompt to brainstorm potential defenses, gather evidence, maybe even explore settlement options.
So we're talking about speeding up research, simplifying the drafting process, even strategizing for courtroom battles. It's pretty wild how prompts are changing the legal landscape. All right, let's move on to something that's, I don't know, a little more conversational. Let's talk about conversational AI. How are prompts shaping the way we interact with machines through language?
Conversational AI, it's all about making technology feel more human, more natural. Think about chatbots, virtual assistants, and prompts are essential to making those interactions feel, I don't know, less robotic, more engaging. For example, you can use prompts to start conversations. Instead of just waiting for the user to ask a question, you can use a prompt to suggest a topic, like maybe you want to start a discussion about the impact of social media on society. A prompt can help you kick off that conversation. And you can also use prompts to keep those conversations focused, on track. Like, let's say you're building a chatbot that helps people learn about plant-based diets. You can use prompts to guide the conversation, make sure it stays focused on the benefits and challenges of that type of diet.
So it's like prompts are the conversational glue, right? They're keeping those interactions flowing, keeping them meaningful. But it's not just about answering questions and staying on topic, is it? What about encouraging deeper thinking, more critical analysis?
Absolutely. You can use prompts to encourage users to think about complex issues from different perspectives. Like, let's say you're having a conversation about the role of AI in healthcare. You can use prompts to get people thinking about both the benefits and the potential risks. And you can also use prompts to explore the pros and cons of different ideas. Like, imagine you're discussing the rise of remote work. You can use prompts to get people thinking about the impact on productivity, work-life balance, social interactions. It's all about fostering those thoughtful, nuanced conversations.
Okay, so we're talking about starting conversations, keeping them focused, encouraging critical thinking. It sounds like prompts are really key to making conversational AI more engaging, more enriching. Now, let's dive a little deeper into the world of software creation. We talked about programming earlier, but what about the broader field of software development? How are prompts shaping the way we build complex software systems?
Software development is a huge field, right? It's all about, it's about designing, building, testing, deploying software. And prompts are starting to touch all those different aspects of the process. For example, you can use prompts to help you design the architecture of a software system, figure out how all the different parts will work together. Like, imagine you're building a big e-commerce platform. You can use a prompt to help you design a microservices architecture where each part of the system is a self-contained service. And you can use prompts to create documentation for your software, so other developers can understand how it works. Like, imagine you're building a library management system. You can use a prompt to generate a class diagram, which shows all the different classes in your code and how they interact.
So it's about taking those big abstract ideas and turning them into something concrete, something that can be built.
Yeah.
What about the actual development process itself?
Prompts can help with that too. You can use prompts to set up automated build and deployment pipelines, so every time you make a change to your code, it gets automatically built, tested, and deployed to your servers. It's all about making that development process faster, smoother, more efficient. And you can even use prompts to help you make key design decisions for specific applications. Like, imagine you're building a fitness tracking app. You can use prompts to help you figure out the best way to structure your data, the best way to integrate with third-party services, all those little details that make an app really work.
So it's like prompts are taking on a more strategic role in software development.
Yeah.
They're not just about writing code. They're about helping developers think through the whole process. Okay, let's zoom in on a specific area of software development, mobile app development. How are prompts changing the way we build apps for phones and tablets?
Mobile app development is a whole other beast, right? You've got different platforms to think about, different screen sizes, different user expectations. And prompts are starting to make it easier to navigate all those complexities. For example, you can use prompts to help you build simple apps for Android. Apps that display lists of data, apps that let users input information. You can even use prompts to build apps for iOS, apps that fetch data from the internet, apps that display that data in a user-friendly way.
So it's like prompts are making it easier to get started with mobile app development, right? To build those basic fundamental apps. But it's not just about simple apps, is it? What about more complex, more ambitious projects?
Prompts can help with those too. You can use prompts to build cross-platform apps that run on both Android and iOS. Apps that let users take photos, apps that store data locally, and you can even use prompts to build more specialized apps, like weather apps. Apps that fetch real-time weather data and display it to the user.
It sounds like prompts are becoming a real game changer for mobile app developers, no matter what platform they're building for. All right, let's move on to something a little more fun, a little more interactive. Game development.
Yeah.
How are prompts changing the way we create virtual worlds and digital experiences?
Game development is such a complex process, right? It's about story, design, programming, art, all coming together. And prompts are starting to find their place in this creative world. For example, you can use prompts to help you build classic 2D platformer games. Games like Mario, where you jump and run through levels, collect coins, defeat enemies. Prompts can help you create the player character, design the levels, implement the game mechanics. And you can even use prompts to build 3D first-person shooter games. Games like Call of Duty, where you run around shooting things in a realistic environment. Prompts can help you set up the player controls, design the AI for the enemies, even create the levels themselves.
It sounds like prompts are helping to streamline that initial game development process, right? To get those basic building blocks in place.
Yeah.
But it's not just about those classic game genres, is it? What about other types of games?
Oh, definitely. You can use prompts to build card games. Games like poker or blackjack. Prompts can help you define the rules, design the cards, even create the interface for the game. And for even more complex games, you can use prompts to build online multiplayer games. Games where players from all over the world can connect and compete with each other. Prompts can help you set up the networking, design the characters, even create the world where the game takes place.
So we're talking about everything from retro platformers to online battle arenas.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing how prompts are starting to shape the future of gaming. All right, let's shift gears to the infrastructure that powers so much of our digital world. Cloud computing. How are prompts changing the way we manage and deploy our applications and services in the cloud?
Cloud computing is all about, it's about flexibility, scalability, accessibility. It's about having access to computing resources on demand whenever you need them. And prompts are starting to make it easier to manage those cloud resources, to deploy applications, to build complex systems. For example, let's say you want to deploy a web application to the cloud. You can use a prompt to guide you through that process. It can tell you how to set up the servers, how to configure the network, how to store your data, and you can even use prompts to automate the deployment process. So every time you make a change to your code, it automatically gets deployed to the cloud.
So it's like prompts are making cloud computing more, more approachable, less intimidating for people who aren't, cloud experts.
Yeah.
But it's not just about deploying applications, is it? What about building more complex systems like APIs?
Yeah, prompts can help with that too. You can use prompts to build serverless APIs where you don't have to manage the underlying servers yourself. It's all handled by the cloud provider. And you can even use prompts to build data pipelines, which are systems that process and analyze large amounts of data. Like, imagine you're collecting data from sensors all over the world. You can use prompts to build a pipeline that processes that data in real time, extracts insights, maybe even triggers actions based on what it finds.
It sounds like prompts are becoming like a vital part of the cloud computing toolkit.
Yeah.
They're making it easier to manage resources, deploy applications, even build complex data-driven systems. Okay, let's talk about something truly mind-blowing. Quantum computing. How are prompts finding their way into this revolutionary field?
Quantum computing is, it's the future of computing. It's about harnessing the power of quantum mechanics to solve problems that are impossible for classical computers to solve. And prompts are starting to help researchers and developers explore this uncharted territory. For example, you can use prompts to help you design quantum circuits, which are the building blocks of quantum algorithms. You can even use prompts to help you implement specific quantum algorithms, like Grover's search algorithm, which can search through unstructured data much faster than classical algorithms.
It sounds like you need a PhD in physics to even understand what that means. But seriously, how else are prompts being used in quantum computing?
Oh, there's so many applications. You can use prompts to set up quantum communication protocols, ways to send information securely using quantum mechanics. And you can even use prompts to explore the world of quantum machine learning, where you use quantum computers to train machine learning models. It's a whole new frontier, and prompts are helping us navigate it.
It's incredible how prompts are already being used in such a cutting-edge field. Okay, let's bring this back down to earth a little bit. Let's talk about human resources technology, or HR tech. How are prompts changing the way we manage people and talent within organizations?
HR tech is all about using technology to streamline HR processes, make things more efficient, more data-driven. And prompts are playing a growing role in that. For example, you can use prompts to help you automate the recruitment process, things like screening resumes, scheduling interviews, even conducting initial candidate assessments. And you can use prompts to improve performance management processes, things like setting goals, tracking progress, providing feedback. It's all about using technology to empower employees, help them grow and develop their skills.
So it's like prompts are making HR more, more human-centric, more focused on the needs of individual employees.
Yeah.
But it's not just about making things more efficient, is it? What about using data to make better decisions?
Exactly. You can use prompts to analyze HR data, identify patterns, get insights that can help you make better decisions about hiring, training, compensation. Things like identifying skill gaps within your workforce or figuring out which training programs are most effective.
It sounds like prompts are really changing the game in HR, making it more strategic, more data-driven, more focused on people. Okay, let's end our journey with a look at the intersection of technology and biology, healthcare and bioinformatics. How are prompts shaping the future of medicine and our understanding of life itself?
Healthcare and bioinformatics are all about, they're about using data to improve health outcomes, to understand the complexities of life. And prompts are starting to play a role in these fields. For example, you can use prompts to help you build machine learning models that predict disease risk. Imagine a model that predicts your risk of heart disease based on your age, lifestyle, and genetics. Prompts can help you build that model, train it, and evaluate its accuracy. And you can use prompts to analyze medical images like X-rays or CT scans. You can train a machine learning model to identify abnormalities to help doctors make faster, more accurate diagnoses.
That's incredible. It's like prompts are helping us unlock the secrets of the human body, helping us diagnose and treat diseases more effectively. But it's not just about healthcare, is it? What about bioinformatics, that whole world of analyzing biological data?
Right. Bioinformatics is all about using computers to understand biological data. Like imagine you're sequencing DNA, trying to identify genetic mutations that might be linked to a disease. You can use prompts to build bioinformatics pipelines that analyze that DNA data, identify those mutations, maybe even predict their effects.
Wow, so we're talking about predicting disease risk,
Yeah.
analyzing medical images, even understanding the very building blocks of life. It's pretty mind-blowing how prompts are being used in these fields. So as we wrap up our deep dive today, it's clear that prompts are not just a tool, they're a catalyst for innovation. They're changing the way we work, the way we learn, the way we interact with the world around us.